Thank you all for joining us for our SICSS-Howard Mathematica Funded Alumni Research in Progress Roundtable. During these Real Talk Roundtables, our hosting organizations, Howard, Mathematica, and SICSS, discuss the experiences of people of color within their institutions or offer tips and tricks for success. In the case of our SICSS panel today, the three teams who received SICSS-Howard Mathematica Inaugural Excellence in Computational Social Science Research Awards will be presenting their research projects in progress. They are Ph.D. students, early career faculty, and postdocs who attended SICSS-Howard Mathematica site in 2021 and were successful in getting funding. They are currently where you want to be. I would recommend you learn about their projects, listen to their trajectory, and ask them questions so you can create a project that gets you funding this year from us, from the SICSS umbrella organization, and also throughout your career. Participants at the SICSS-Howard Mathematica site will have a chance to ask questions about their projects and get to know them during the second day of Praxis to Power. And our friends on the continent in Cameroon, Nigeria, and South Africa will get to watch that live Q&A video on the SICSS-Howard Mathematica site once it is posted. For now, I encourage you to settle in, listen, and learn.
My name is Nicole Jenkins. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm currently an assistant professor at Howard University. When I first started with SICSS-Howard Mathematica, I was an adjunct professor. I was adjuncting for Prince George Community College as well as Howard University. Since SICSS, I have become an assistant professor. I'm finishing up my first year on the tenure track. So in terms of this project, it was highly influenced by my dissertation research. I am an ethnographer, and I did a 2-year ethnography in an African braiding and weaving salon where I was interested in the experiences of Black women donning natural hair. That ethnography project since grew into amazing research where I was able to capture a bit of data about the natural hair experiences, but the project actually captured different themes, and that sometimes happens within ethnographic research. So because my passion is around natural hair, I have so many stories and experiences from childhood, adulthood to current day surrounding my natural hair, and I have continued to have an interest in other Black women's experiences, which is why I am so supportive of the Crown Act, and also trying to, I consider myself a scholar activist, and trying to spread more awareness about the Crown Act. Again, with the project, because it was my dissertation research, when given the opportunity within SICSS-Howard Mathematica to introduce project topics, I just put it out on the table in front of my cohort. And I was so lucky to have so many folks interested in my project and recognizing my passion behind it. So I ended up with an amazing team. Dr. Marissa Smith is a media specialist, which added a very unique component to our project where we were able to look at not only news media, but social media content as well. She also brought with her skills, including data scraping. Also, Yash Tadimalla brought with him his data scientist expertise. And then with me as a qualitative researcher, we had quite the interdisciplinary mix. So that's kind of how it all came together. And we all just decided to work together because once having the conversation, we shared the passion, the interest, and also the set of skills necessary to capture the type of data that we were looking for. So that's just a bit about the project, and I hope that folks would reach out who are interested in collaborating with us or learning more about the project or even participating once we get the project fully launched.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yash Tadimalla, and I go by he, him, his. I am currently a second-year doctoral student at UNC Charlotte. I was a first-year doctoral student when I attended SICSS-Howard Mathematica, and it was my first outside of college event, I think, in my doctoral program. And it was also the first time I really felt a cohort experience, because in my program, I am pursuing the interdisciplinary track, which is sociology and computer science. So it was really hard for me to find people who thought in both those terms. And SICSS-Howard Mathematica was one of those was one of those initial places where I found other people who I could consider as kin, almost, because everyone was so excited about looking at things from multiple angles. And our research project was really initiated by Dr. Nicole Jenkins from her dissertation work. And it was really beautiful to see how the project changed over the duration of SICSS because of every team member. Dr. Marissa Smith, who was a part of our team, he's an expert in terms of news media analysis and understanding critical discourse around topics over the internet. And she contributed to the project in terms of how we could look at multiple sources to understand the full picture of what was happening around the topic instead of just Twitter. And me, myself, as a data scientist, was really keen on understanding how we could make the research and data that we were collecting accessible to future researchers. And SICSS definitely helped us hone our understanding of what ethical research was. And I really hope you all are interested in our project, and we hear back from many of you for future collaborations.
Okay, let's get started. Global crowns, emotions surrounding natural hair of Black women around the globe. So I wanted to start by talking about what is the Crown Act, right? So the Crown Act is an acronym creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. So the Crown Act is current legislation in the United States that seeks to end hair discrimination within institutions of work, school, as well as federal programs. So while protection against discrimination is prevalent within the US, a recent federal law passed in 2019 allows employers the option to ban locks in the workplace in states where the Crown Act is not law. And the passing of this law initiated the Crown Act. And since its fruition, the Crown Act is now law in 16 states, but much of the US remains without protection. This year, the House of Representatives passed the Crown Act, and it is now pending Senate approval before it can be made law nationwide. This is why this conversation holds such significance and is so timely. So I had mentioned before, this is a slide from the Crown Act directly, that 15 states currently the Crown Act is law in currently 15 states. So another reason why this is important is there has been previous research about Black folks' experiences, particularly Black women and girls. And 100% of Black girls in elementary schools reported experiences of hair discrimination. 47% of Black mothers report having experiences of hair discrimination when wearing their natural hair. And these experiences cause trauma and impact the daily lives of many folks. Mothers also reported that these experiences happened as early as 5 years old to some of their children. So again, just emphasizing the importance of what hair discrimination might look like in the US, I wanted to provide some examples. In 2017, Maya and Dana Cook, twin sisters in Massachusetts, had to serve detention when school officials determined that their braids violated school policy. In 2018, Clinton Stanley Jr., a 6-year-old student at Brooks Christian Academy in Florida, was sent home from school on account of his hair. The child's father was told that the school handbook states the boys are not permitted to wear locks. Again, in September 2018, officials at Christ the King Middle School in Terrytown, Louisiana, informed one of its students that she was being expelled from school because her extensions or braids were unacceptable under the school code and policy. More recently, in 2018, Andrew Johnson, a Black New Jersey teenager, was made to cut his dreadlocks during a wrestling match. They were cut by a white referee so that he could continue to participate in his school's wrestling match. These are just a few incidents that have occurred, just highlighting what discrimination might look like in the US. So I wanted to share a bit specifically about this project and the research questions that we came up with for this project during our SICSS Mathematica experience. So the first question is, what themes exist within dialogue surrounding the Crown Act in media coverage and Black Twitter? So we wanted to hone in on the skills of all of our team, and we did initially have a media expert on our team, Dr. Marissa Smith. And we additionally wanted to examine social media. The next question is, what language is being used to discuss natural hair experiences? So we would examine this language not only in the media, but also within social media as well. How has policy surrounding education and work institutions changed since the introduction of the Crown Act? And lastly, how has the frequency of discriminatory behavior based on hair varied between educational settings and work settings?
Because of our team's very multidisciplinary formation, we had an approach to data collection for this project from 4 different angles. We wanted to collect Twitter data and analyze it to understand the conversations about Black hair and experiences of women who have decide to have natural Black hair. And then we also wanted to collect data from news media outlets. We also wanted to collect data from interviews, which would be done at Harvard by Dr. Nicole, our research team. We also wanted to collect data through online surveys to understand women experience across the globe, to see if there were differences in terms of how existing policy in that region impacts the experience of women in that region. And so we were planning to have 4 types of analysis, basically text, network, thematic, and newsroom analysis to understand the experiences better. During original SICSS summer cohort, we did Twitter analysis, and we saw that a lot of people often, when it comes to natural hair of Black women, the things that came up were race-based hair discrimination, or community issues, and people and rights and hair discrimination were the words that often came up when we searched Crown Act. And when we looked up how people spoke about natural hair, the things that came up most prominently when looking outside of the color, hair color and natural hair color, were how people were talking about natural hair in the sense of look, or how you can or how you're not supposed to and don't, and words which were forcing a narrative of how women should carry themselves. And we did a preliminary news media analysis of the word Crown Act across various websites on internet. This was done through web scraping. And we again saw a reiteration of how Black women's natural hair often came up in context of political scenarios, or it came up in terms of movies and films, or it came up in terms of discriminatory behavior in workplaces specifically. For our research project, we wanted to develop, we wanted to implement a 3-phase project. The first phase would be building a website, and the website would act as a platform where we collect narratives from people in terms of text or voice, and we would showcase some of these responses, and it would also act as an open source data set, which other researchers can use to perform research in the same area. And Our second phase would be kind of working more on analysis of the data that we collect through the website, and also the interviews that we would conduct in person, and also to combine and triangulate the data from all three sources of Twitter, social media, with the in-person interviews with the data we collect for our website. And the third phase would be an open source database that we want to use to encourage other people pursuing further research in this area.
So I want to talk a little bit about what went well, and then what were some of the challenges that we experienced while working on this project throughout SICSS Mathematica. So I'll start with what went well. We had an amazing group dynamic. Again, it was such an amazing experience to be able to work with such an interdisciplinary group. The planning went really well too. We seemed to work really well in terms of our time management and our strategies towards who could do what and when. The planning was just really great. Again, the diverse set of skills really added to our project and gave us an opportunity to hone in on folks' individual skills, but also gave us an opportunity to learn from one another, and just created a wonderful interdisciplinary collaboration. In terms of the challenges, one of the first challenges was the Twitter scraping. So as a qualitative researcher, this was something very new to me. Much of this whole entire process I learned within SICSS. And Marissa was really instrumental in this and did a great job in terms of sharing screen, again, us learning from one another. Infrastructure capacities was an additional challenge. Our techniques and skills, which, you know, we do in SICSS, right, learn. We have opportunities to learn about R and those sorts of things, but because of the fast pace of the program, it can still be a challenge. And then in terms of the timeline for the project, we did have a great planning and strategizing technique. However, it is such a short amount of time that it is a challenge to work within that condensed time frame. So in terms of the project update, we actually have received funding. I'm really excited about it. I'm sure you can tell, you can see all my teeth right now. We received the SICSS-Howard Mathematica Inaugural Excellence in Computational Social Science Research Award. Again, so excited about that. And with those funds, we plan to initiate stage 1, of which Yash just explained, is the website design, so that we're able to collect narrative inquiries. And another project update is we are currently in the process of working with the Institutional Review Board. I have here buckets of fun, right? Institutional review boards can be quite challenging, but really, all jokes aside, I want to just hone in on the importance of IRB. We know that historically, communities of color have been harmed through research, so the IRB is an extremely important process. So all jokes aside, we're grateful for the Institutional Review Board. Those are the pros, right, is that we're now beyond those historical deficits. But it is challenging to work through the IRB. It is tedious, it is timely. However, I'll bounce back and forth between pros and cons. The IRB is going to give you an opportunity to think of every detail regarding your project, and your participants, who, as researchers, we want to make sure that we are practicing our research ethically, right? So yes, it's tedious, yes, it takes a lot of time, it's a lot of back and forth, but it really does refine the research process. In terms of future plans, we want to build out that robust website, and again, we also want to go into the other phases of the research. We'll be recruiting researchers with quantitative text analysis skills, such as web scraping, for Twitter scraping and those sorts of things so that we can expand that area of our project as well. And we would be happy to hear from folks who are interested in our project. So please see our contact information below.
Thank you all for watching. For more information on SICSS-Howard Mathematica, visit our website, follow us on social media, and join our email list.